Hey everybody, it is Hyper, and before we start this quick video, which will be about the Wild Hunters and some other updates in Scum, I just want to apologize because I know my videos have been sporadic lately. Like I said though, been going through a lot, going through a move, getting ready to start school, we're doing stuff for a wedding, like we're doing a lot right now, so it's kind of like crazy, and the videos aren't as consistent as I would like them to be. Hopefully that'll balance out more once I get a more consistent schedule. Anyways, let's get to the actual video, right? So, we are going to be talking about this guy here today, and this guy is part of a drop from another tweet from Thomas Lev himself again, and this is in relation to the Wild Hunters, and this guy is known as the Wild Hunter Scout. So in the tweet from the 23rd of May 2022, Thomas Lev says, "Wild Hunter Scout, work in progress, don't freak out." A little bit of backhanded humor there, because a lot of people, when they see the Wild Hunters and stuff like that, or they see any story-related content, they get kind of upset. They're like, well, what happened to my Scum game where I'm a hardcore PvPer and all I care about is raiding bases and, shooting people running around in oranges, A lot of people like that are freaking out when they're like, we don't want the Wild Hunters and stuff like that. There's mixed reviews on it. I think it's going to be great because the game was designed to have this stuff from the start. It had a storyline from the start. Just because you moved over from Rust doesn't change that fact. So relax. It's still going to be a great game. The PvP is still going to be awesome. You still could be as toxic as you want, I promise, right? But anyways, let's get into the actual photo. And we'll kind of take a look into it, do another deep dive like we did with the Wild Hunter artifacts and villages and stuff we've seen so far, the alpha as well as the Wild Hunter warriors. So let's take a look. So immediately when I look at this photo, the first thing that jumps out to me is actually the face of this guy right here. And I think the reason for that is, I don't know, it just stands out. It's the lighting around it is, it pops from the rest of the photo. But immediately, when I see this photo, it reminds me of two things. It reminds me of like a vulture or like a condor of some kind. And then the other thing it reminds me of is specifically the Lord of the Rings games again, in the form of like Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor. He reminds me of a lot of the the orcs and stuff you're going to see in those games. He reminds me of some of their minions and stuff, and I think they are drawing a lot of inspiration for these Wild Hunter characters from that, at least on the male characters themselves, right? Now, the next thing I can see is like he does have this like feathered like collar around him, again, making him look a lot more like a vulture or a bird. He's got these weird markings. I can't tell if those are scars or maybe they're part of his mutation. I'm unsure. It kind of looks like he might actually have tattoos on his head as well. Very hard to make out. It's a possibility, though, as we've seen that the Wild Hunters do mark themselves up and do have symbology they use, as we checked out in my other videos, kind of breaking down and analyzing them, right? The next thing I immediately notice is, again, on the bird motif, is his mouth looks very bird-like. Again, yes, he does have teeth, but to me that more looks like a beak with teeth. And yes, some birds do have beaks and teeth. It is possible, right? Before anybody says that's not bird-like, right? Now, the next thing that popped out to me actually was not his bow, but the snake. For whatever reason, like the curves of the snake and stuff just popped out to me because it didn't really match the rest of the photo and the colors were a little bit different. But yeah, he's straight up holding a snake. It looks like a viper of some sort. It's got that classic viper head shape. It's got those fangs that they're not retractable, but what do you call them? They're hinged, I guess. I don't know what you say, right? But it looks like it's a viper of some sort. I don't know. I'm not a snake expert. Maybe it could be like a boa, but that does not look like the mouth of a boa or something like that. That looks like a snake of or the head of a rattlesnake. It looks like a viper. Yeah, absolutely. And I grew up in the Southwest. I've seen tons of rattlesnakes and stuff like that, so I know what they look like. This one's just kind of weird. I don't know what kind of breed of snake that is. It's got a really cool pattern. I don't know if you guys know anything about patterns on snakes, but I don't know. I've never seen one like that. It's really interesting. Anyways, maybe this is this guy's pet, and it looks like it. He's got like a leash around it. I don't know how much good that would do you on a snake, right? So he is considered a scout, but I think he's more of like the actual hunter, more of the wild part of this game, right? But yeah, here's that leash I was talking about. It's right up here. just on the tail end of the snake as it tapers off. So again, I don't know how effective that would be. And you also see these little rats hanging from his belt. So I think it's safe to say that one can make the assumption this probably is his pet, and or maybe it's a weapon, a living weapon he uses to attack people and animals, right? Now, the next few things that come out to me are like he's heavily armored, especially for a scout. You know, typically scouts are not armed. Typically, a scout doesn't want to be getting into a fight, so they try and travel light, stuff like that, right? But this guy's got a massive bow, like absolute unit of a bow. It's huge, like that is a crazy long bow, and look how thick it is and what it's made with, bones and wood and feathers, and you know, it's even got hooks and stuff that looks like they've salvaged from other things. And the rope itself, right? It looks like it could even be steel. It's kind of hard to say. To me, that looks like rusted steel, to be honest, right? Look at that shine and then that rusty brown color, right? So they've got some weapons that they have been putting together, again, hinting at their intelligence and their, you know, they really put a lot of work and time and effort into making their weapons and their armor. You can tell, like, just look at all of this. It's not just thrown together. Like, there was some thought put into all of this, right? Now, on that note, right, let's take a look at this right here. It's kind of hard to tell what this is, this long stick at his side next to this axe he has, but I think we can kind of infer that it is a dart gun or a blowgun, because right back here between the snake and that long, you know, cylinder, I guess, you have these things that very much look like blow darts you would see with different tribes, especially in South America, using. They look just like that, right? And then the next thing we can look at is, again, like the other wild hunters, he is carrying files or like gourds of something at his waist. I don't know, maybe this is a food source for them, maybe it's just water, maybe it's medicine or something they use to heal. Who can say? We do know these guys are going to be very hard to kill, because their origins, you know, tell us that the phoenix deers were synthesized in some part or maybe wholly from the wild hunters themselves. Maybe they were the rejects. I don't know. It's hard to say. Now, the next thing I want to take a look at is he does have a little bit of armor on. He's got bone armor, which was typically seen on the other two examples of the wild hunters we've gotten so far. He's got these, like, it's kind of like, I don't know what you would call that. It's like a bracer, I guess, or a harness made of these small, what looked like to be finger bones, right? He's got a harness made of them. It looks like there's various animal parts thrown in there as well, teeth and jaws, and maybe they're wild hunter parts, who can say. He's got a massive quiver on his back for those huge arrows he's going to be shooting out of this ridiculous bow, right? And I think the next thing I want to show you is, again, looking at his waist belt, he's got a hatchet. They all seem to carry hatchets, which is smart. It's one of the best survival tools you can come across on the planet. And then, similar to the other wild hunters, they have a love for carrying skulls along their waist, right? He has some skulls. It looks like he has a rodent skull at the top and then some bird skulls at the bottom, just over those files he's carrying. If we look at the bow, too, he's got what looks to be the talons, the hand of a bird of prey, or maybe one of these vultures. It's kind of hard to say. And yeah, he has this classic claws on his feet, which are really gross to me, but he's got it. Here we got a better view. He does have 5 toes. I was speculating previously maybe he had 6 or something like that, but I don't know. He looks pretty average when it comes to, you know, the number of digits. And he's got this shin guard, clearly made of bones. I'm not an expert on, you know, bones or anatomy, so I can't identify what those are, but he's got a feather tucked in there, which is pretty plain as day that you can see. Now, the next thing I want you to notice, he has the paint on his legs as well, so he's got some sort of significance to his role. Or maybe, you know, it's part of a uniform or a signifier of what he is in their society, along with all the other stuff he has, such as his weapons and his, you know, his whole getup, his armor. Other than that, it's pretty simple. He doesn't have one of those fancy helmets or any of those crazy, like, whole, like, chest setups or anything. He's just got this loincloth, and that's about it, right? Now, as for his person, that's really about it. He's got those menacing, glowing, yellowish eyes. Like I said, those tattoos, that very animalistic jaw, those really cool arrows and weapons and stuff. But that's about really it for him, you know? So let's move on to what we see in the rest of the photo. In this part of the photo, we see these vultures, right? And I know this vultures, it's kind of like, maybe this was the inspiration for him. Maybe that's what they do with their concepts. They kind of say, hey, look, this is what we want the guy to look at. Because, you know, Scum has animals. They're not my biggest thing in the game. Like, I like hunting in Scum. It's fun, but the animals are so broken. They're so wonky, and in some cases, they're either super rare or they're everywhere. So, I don't know. I think animals need a rework, and I don't think they're going to be adding a lot of these anytime soon. I don't think we're going to be seeing foxes in the game like we saw in the previous Wild Hunter. I don't think we're going to see vultures in the game either, right? But anyways, you see these vultures feasting on something. It's kind of hard to tell what it is. It could be an animal. It could be a person, who knows? It looks like just a lump of meat. But if you look at this far left one, the one that's looking away, just all brooding like an emo teenager while the other ones are eating, he has a necklace on that is made of teeth, right? So that's interesting to see, right? So again, this could be another one of his pets, or maybe one of his tames. He could be like a more classic hunter from like World of Warcraft and other things like that, because you can see they're in close proximity to him. And if you guys know anything about, scavengers like this, typically they don't like things walking near them while they're eating. So this shows that they definitely do trust him, and they're okay with him being within, what looks to be 2 or 3 feet of them as they are having their feast that maybe he got for them. Who can say, right? But anyways, like, this guy looks menacing. Honestly, I think he is more unsettling than the 2 other, types of Wild Hunter we've seen so far. Yes, the Alpha is huge and menacing looking. Yes, the Warrior looks brutal and he looks like he'll mess you up. But this one's kind of creepy. Like, look at that mouth. Like, that's weird. The way he's, like, hunched over and his posture is not straight up standing like the other ones. The look in his eyes, like the look in his... look at that brow. Like, he's focused, but he's like, I don't know, man. He kind of creeps me out in a weird way. And again, like I said, he reminds me of the forest. He reminds me of something you would see out of like a Tolkien like fantasy. But at the same time, he also reminds me of the cannibals, the mutants from the forest. Like, so much of this looks like what you'd see in the forest. Then again, I don't want to say it's derived from the forest, but at the same time, it's like you can only go so far with that mutant cannibal aesthetic and make it believable, you know what I mean? And again, who knows? There could be a lot of different parts of these. There could be different tribes and stuff. Like, all of this at this point is speculation. But if there's anything to go off from the previous things and stuff that Tomislav has dropped from us in the past, it's been pretty accurate to actually what comes out in the game. So hopefully we will be seeing something kind of like this running around Scum Island very soon. Again, that's going to be wild. Imagine like you're hunting in the forest or PvPing, or you're building a base in PvE, and you hear something rustling in the bushes or in the trees, and you look over and you see a blur of this run past, or you see some snakes start showing up in your base, or you see condors, or I mean not condors, but you see these vultures overhead. And it's just mind-boggling to me, like, to think about that stuff. That would be really cool. Like, the forest did the game right, but it was too simplistic, and it was just too unbalanced, it felt like. But Scum is doing so good at making the PvP fun, making the build-up fun and stuff like that, that end game things like this are going to make all of those mechanics come together and really shine, right? So again, like, this is going to probably upset a lot of PvP players. I know it will. But honestly, guys, like, the game was not made just for you. I play PvP. I play PvE. They're different servers for different types of game style. And I'll still continue to play on all of them, right? Anyways, like Tomislav says, work in progress. Don't freak out. If you don't like the aesthetic, they're working on making it come into the Scum universe seamlessly. And this brings us to the next part, as far as the don't freak out part, is people are saying, I want my PvP game. I want my game where I can run around, raiding bases and harassing people and just being an all-around, just Scum, really, the name of the game, right? But that is the next tweet he dropped, which is actually from an earlier date. This is from May 19th, and this is where Tomislav says, story-related concept art, nothing of big importance to you at this point. Also, this is me when people report bugs on my Twitter account, which is fair, him and his sense of humor again. But that's fair. It's like, dude, it's his Twitter account. It's not like a bug reporting system. Use Steam. They have literally given us a groundwork and a network to report bugs and cheaters and all kinds of stuff like that. So just, use the right and proper system. Like, it's in place so it works better. And when you don't use it, it's not going to work, right? Anyways, let's get to the actual picture itself. So here we are in what looks to be one of the boss's headquarter rooms, right? Now, This is really cool to me because this is very telling as to what the boss's place in the Scum world will be once it's integrated into the outposts. And that is the first thing that jumps out to me when I see this photo. And it's not the guy getting shot in the head or anything like that. The first thing I noticed when this opened up was these like neon glowing green monitors and like servers, really is what it looks like in the back, or just equipment of some kind. That jumped out to me. And when I looked around the room more, the next thing I noticed was this big Tech 1, which is just this massive, I don't know what kind of motherboard that is, but that's like a massive ATX is what I would call it. I don't know, or an ATX jumbo. But anyways, yeah, I saw this on the right hand side, and for him to have all this equipment and set up, and for it to be chilling in this room like this, I would assume that this is how he communicates with Tech 1. Maybe he works for them, maybe not. Maybe he's making deals for them. I don't know. It is a television show they're running, so I'd assume they'd want to have a hand in with the bosses that are running the island. Otherwise, you would just have anarchy at that point. That would be kind of hard to turn into a viable, product for people to watch, right? The next thing I see is like, just look at this massive graphics card at the top. That thing's huge. Like, what in the hell? I just thought that was funny, right? Just these massive graphics card hanging from the top of the roof, just dangling there, right? But then again, we know Tech 1 is behind this. I liked it when they had the Tech 01 instead of just the Tech 1. I thought it looked better. That's just a nitpick of mine, right? Anyways, these are oscilloscopes. I know what those are because I used to have to use them for my science projects in high school. They're used to monitor wavelengths and, wave types, so waveforms, really. I don't know what he's doing with all of it, and he doesn't look like the kind of guy that would be too savvy on equipment like this, but hey, it's there, right? And the next thing I noticed is there's another room back there, and you can clearly see those red brick walls that are kind of a theme in the outpost, so that's right there. And then you see a lot of alcohol, which is always nice to see in the room of the guy that's in charge of everything. He's got to be hammered at all times because everybody knows that's how you're a good leader. You're just inebriated, right? Next thing I notice is this Jaguar, what are those called? Figureheads, right? That used to be on cars, that a lot of them were banned because, they were dangerous for pedestrians, right? Next thing you notice is this fantastic thing that is going on in this photo. He is shooting this man in the head, but don't worry, it doesn't look like he was unarmed or anything. He definitely seemed to have been armed himself, so we can't be too quick to judge. Maybe he's a good guy in the situation. We don't know, but he did shoot this guy sitting in a chair in what appears to be his office. We also notice is he's dressed very well. He is not in ratty clothes. He's not sitting around in this stitched up grimy suit like we saw from the previous bosses that were shown to us in these tweets. So this makes me think that definitely this guy is not a resident of Scum Island, or at least has some other place he lives or is kitted up from, right? And he's got a different gun too. That looks more like a Browning high power to me, kind of. Maybe a different kind of Glock. Actually, no, that doesn't look like it. It's kind of hard to say what it is from here. The shape of the handle and the shape of the slide, all that stuff is crazy. Nice little bullet wound to the head. I mean, typical Scum stuff. They're very colorful with how they animate these things, right? But again, there's not too much to take apart from this room besides that. There's something I really want to see in the game, and that's a lever action. I would love for a lever action to be added to the game. I absolutely huge fan of them. I love cowboy guns. I'm a huge gun collector myself. I love firearms. I actually have a company that's revolved around firearms, so I'm a huge gun nut, and I was thinking of doing gun lore videos of Scum, the history of the guns in there, and why they might relate and tie into the Scum world itself. I would love to do that, so if you guys are interested, let me know in the comments. I would call myself an expert, but I don't know, maybe that's too optimistic of me to say. Anyways, you got that blood splatter on the wall, which I think is a bit optimistic as well. I don't know if it would be that graphic, but anyways, you can take apart a lot of stuff from here. You also see this little chest right here. That doesn't look like the Tech 1 Corporation logo to me. That's like two archways coming together, whereas the Tech 1 is that classic like triangle you see on the BCU and things like that, right? So there's also something else on the desk. I can't really make out what it is. It looks like it might be another parcel of some kind or another piece of electronic equipment, but it does look deliberately blurred out a bit. So it's not super easy to make out. Maybe this guy was delivering some equipment to him. Maybe he doesn't work for Tech 1. Maybe he works for a competing company or something like that, which would make sense considering this is a dystopian future, the cyberpunk world that Scum takes place in. Whether you believe that or not, like that's what the world outside of the island looks like at this point in time, right? And this also makes me think This has to be on the Scum Island because just the aesthetic of this room does not match. This is a old style building, right? This ceiling is not something I would imagine seeing in a newer Scum. This lighting isn't, the flooring. Like, this is an old building. This is old upholstery. This is old everything. And there's a fireplace right there. I doubt people in the future of these cyberpunk cities are using fireplaces to keep warm, right? So my theory right now is he is an employee of Tech One. This other guy who's kind of nice dressed might be maybe another person under his employ. Maybe a deal went wrong. Who can say? But I don't think he's a boss of one of these places. I could be wrong, but just from everything I've seen, from the way he's dressed, the look of his firearm, the equipment in this room, I don't think he is a resident of Scum Island. I think he works for Tech One. I think this guy could go either way. Either he works for Tech One and messed up, or he is a resident of Scum Island, or maybe he was the boss. Maybe this is his office overall, actually. It's kind of hard to say. I do want to say this pistol looks very, very interesting. I don't know what it would be or how it functions, because that's a really weird angle for it to be bent like that. Maybe that's a holster. It's kind of hard to say. It's a weird looking thing. Definitely doesn't look like a less than lethal just because the way the front kind of like tapers like that. I don't see. I think the bore is too small for it to be a less than lethal option. I don't know, but it's cool looking nonetheless. Maybe this is one of the futuristic guns, and everyone on Scum Island is using the old school outmoded, regular firearms. This could be like something, super far into the future in advance. It's hard to say. Again, like, it's all speculation at this point, right? Other than that, there's just this massive green chandelier covered in blood at the top, This just gives us another idea of what the boss's headquarters will look like and what the insides of these outpost buildings are going to look like as well, right? So anyways, there's not too much else to tear apart here. There's another back room here, and it looks like there's an animal head mounted on the wall. I don't know, maybe that's just one of the hotel rooms. Maybe that's the room where the outpost boss sleeps. I'm not sure, man. Maybe this guy's just doing some crypto mining over here, doing a little Dogecoin, mining. Who knows? But we all know that would be perfect for the setting because crypto is a scam, 100%. Anyways, that's really all I have to say about this. Hopefully you guys are excited and hyped out by this. I think this is really cool. And if it actually looks like this in game, I'm going to love it. Like, this is awesome. It feels like you're part of this big old like crime syndicate where you're witnessing the stuff going on around you. And I think you're going to be able to build a lot of narrative for missions and goals and, quest lines that you can do as a Scum player with a setting like this and with dynamics like this going on, right? So this makes me think we're going to have a lot more to come. And he said it was part of the storyline, so maybe there will be an overarching main quest line as well as these other smaller things to do. I would love to see that, and I think it would do wonders for a game like Scum. We haven't really seen a survival game like this, especially like a zombie survival game. I know they're not technically zombies, but come on, it's got that feeling to it, right? We haven't seen a game do quests and missions and NPCs right up until this point, and we've had DayZ for like the past, gosh, I think it's 9 years at this point, 10 years. And, to see somebody actually starting to flesh out a game like this, a universe like this, is really exciting to me because I'm a huge fan of the genre, and I think it couldn't be in better hands than in Gamepires, right? So this is going to bring us to the next few things. These aren't like huge updates. These are just smaller things that have been dropped on Twitter. You guys probably have already seen this if you follow any of them. I have been neglecting my Instagram and Twitter lately just because, like you said, I've been busy. It hasn't been my number one priority to make content the last few weeks. But let's take a look at those other tweets, right? The next tweet down the line is from May 17th. And we got another picture of an upcoming weapon in Scum, and that is the improvised noob tube. Previously, he had dropped pictures of, guess what this is? I had guessed it was a flare launcher. I was like, that would be cool to have an improvised flare launcher. But I was wrong. I was actually really wrong about that. It is an improvised grenade launcher, which I think is awesome. It would not be hard to make one of these at all. You need a spring, a nail, and a couple pipes, and you're ready to go, man. It's not that hard to make a shotgun. That's all you need to do that too. So it's like, it's totally believable to say that you can craft other weapons like a 50 cal pistol, but not this would be kind of laughable. But I think it looks really cool, honestly, right? So let's take a look at the photo itself. At the top, it says cartridge something. So it looks like it was definitely made from an ammo can. I'm familiar with that green. I'm familiar with that spray paint right there. That's a NATO ammo can, and it looks like they have bent it and welded it so it could act as the receiver for this grenade launcher. You see the big old spring in the back, the charging handle, nice big trigger in stock, which definitely would probably be a lot smarter to fire this off of your leg or fire it from under the shoulder, depending on, I don't know how heavy it is or what kind of rounds you're using. But as somebody who has fired a grenade launcher in real life, an M203, several times, hundreds of times in fact, it's just cool to see this in game. Grenade launchers are a ton of fun, and I'm glad people would see it in the game. And I know a lot of people are complaining about this. They're like, oh my god, people are going to be able to craft a grenade launcher and raid you. It's like, yeah man, like, this is where the gray area comes from. There's a lot of debate on how to properly play these games and like the rule sets that are overarching them, like the unsaid rules on courtesies of raiding and not raiding and what's toxic and what's not. It's kind of hard to define that. That's why I'd say find a server that suits your rules. Anyways, do I think it's game breaking? Absolutely not. Do I think it's going to completely change the dynamic of raids and PvP? Hell yeah. One grenade destroying the truck that took you literal weeks to loot up and get fully repaired and kitted up and everything on official servers anyways. Just taking out with one pull that trigger is going to be a wild thing to see in the game, especially when they are a hot commodity, right? The other thing you immediately notice is the back, like it's literally a soup can. And I think that's a soup can. That's what it looks like to me. If that is a soup can, holy shit, this is a big grenade. I don't know if there are smaller cans in other places. I'm not sure. I'm from the United States. I'm not familiar with how Europe packages their food very much. So if you would let me know if that is a can, I would love to hear from you. If it's not, I don't know what the hell that is, right? Next thing I noticed is these sights. These sights are pretty awful. If you guys are familiar with grenade launchers, they are not direct fire weapons. They are they're arcing weapons. You can use them to do indirect fire, to deflate fire and stuff like that, but that's not where they shine. So I definitely would not rely on these sights at all to make accurate grenade shots from this thing. The next thing you notice is there's a very primitive handle. It looks like it was made from like knife handles and bent metal and screwed together. And you see these primitively clothed over and wrapped front handguard. I mean, I don't even think you could call it a handguard. It's just more like a hand heat wrap to keep you from burning your fingerprints off every time you hold this after you fire it a few times. And again, this is just another view of it. The rear end, like here's the stock, here's the, pistol grip right here. You got that nice big old trigger and that charging handle. I don't know what the firing mechanism to this. Actually, no, I can get an idea of it. It's literally just like a captive pin right here. You push it behind here, it'll click over this trigger right here, and then when you pull it down, it's going to free that bolt and it's just going to go straight forward. And if you guys are familiar with firearms and their safety features, this is a very, very unsafe way to fire a high explosive round from. Like, I think it's funny, and I think knowing that they add malfunctions to the game and knowing that they've added weapon durability, to see something like this catastrophically malfunction would be hilarious, or to see it misfire would be hilarious. Especially, like, look at the size of that spring. That's no joke. Maybe it'll have a strength requirement. If you pull it back, there's a round in it, and you let go too early, you might send that thing flying somewhere you don't want it to go flying to. But yeah, there's just so much to take apart here. It's really cool. Whoever's designing their weapons in the in-game buyers, they're doing a great job at it, because this is totally believable, and this 100% would absolutely work to fire an M203. Absolutely, this would, and it would be really easy to make. So again, if you believe in gun control, this is just another example of why that's not going to work ever. And let's go down to the very bottom. We just get the opposite side view, and pretty much this is just the opposite side, and it looks like it's to be a right-handed weapon. Sorry, all you left-handed folks, you're just going to have to make do. But yeah, it is not ambidextrous. You got the charging handle on the opposite side, and it's literally just exactly what you'd expect from it. Nice wide bore in the front. You got your handle, you got your trigger, all that other good stuff. And that is your improvised grenade launcher. So I think that's super cool. Can't wait to see it in game. And I'm also terrified to run into it in game, because I know this is going to piss me off when I'm playing PvP one way or another. Or maybe NPCs will have it in the future. Who knows? We haven't even seen if there's going to be like roaming bandits from other, rival outposts and stuff like that, or Tech 1 personnel. We don't know. But it's a lot of stuff you could speculate on. And I feel like a kid anticipating Christmas. So, again, I can't wait to see all this stuff in game. It's going to be really cool. Now, the next thing we have from Thomas Lav is back to the Wild Hunter stuff that pretty much covers all of it except for the other thing that I kind of glossed over, right? And that is the next thing in weapons that I'm also super excited for. So on the 20th of May, he said, supposedly some campers asked for this thing, and I cannot wait to see this in game. And that is going to be the L96. I think this is an L96. I'm not an expert on, Arctic firearms. I don't know the designations and all the different models, but this is like the L96 platform. It could be, I think, an A1. I see like a flash hider and stuff. I will do some research and definitely pull apart all of like the weapons. I think the more I see these photos and the more I talk about it, the more I get excited to do a series like that. So I definitely will do a firearm series for Scum. But anyways, this is like the classic firearm. I don't know if you guys played the Op. But the Op is the Arctic, firearm. It stands for Arctic Weapons, I think, platform. I don't remember. It's been a while. But this is it. This is the rifle. It is chambered in 338 Lapua. I think they did make in other options as well previously. But this is the thing. This is the rifle that popularized the usage of 338 Lapua in a military firearm. It's got the whole tripod system integrated. It's got that fluted barrel. It's got the modular sling system. It's super cool. It is the L96, but I think this is the most beautiful L96 I've seen in a video game to date, especially since the sniping system and the weapon system in Scum is it's top tier. It's untethered, right? And I think this is going to be the gun to use as a sniper. Sure, the M82 is fun, but with the availability of ammo and how rare it is, I think this is really going to be the new king as far as sniping goes. 338 Lapua, if you guys are familiar with firearms and ammo, is one hell of a round. It packs a super mean punch, and it's going to leave you hurting. We're talking about one-shot kills at great distances if you hit somebody center mass. So, I'm excited to see this come to the game. It's going to be a blast. And hopefully, because they're showing a bipod in use in this photo, that is something I've been waiting for a long time. Please add a bipod or a mounting system to firing weapons. Firing from a stable platform is what snipers in Scum have been asking for a while, and it's going to just be a game changer. It's cool having to worry about your sniping skill and stuff, but I mean, let's be realistic. If you want to be hardcore and realistic, you're going to give people advantages as well as disadvantages, and one of the best advantages you can have as a marksman is shooting from a stable platform. Let us do it already, come on! Especially since you have a ghillie suit that doesn't really do anything. I don't know why people like ghillie suits. They're kind of a gimmick in Scum. But whatever, it's cool. I want to roleplay a sniper. I'm gonna do that. I want to go to the airfield in B2 and snipe the hell out of people on Sector 7 server. This is the gun to do that with. I mean, the one I'm actually excited for is not the L96 because I'm not a huge fan of the gun itself. It's got a lot of cool history behind it, and I do like it. But I'm more of a fan of American-style sniper rifles, if you will. I am a fan of Carlos Hathcock, good old white feathers, things like that. I like stuff like that, so I'm more excited for the Hunter in 30-06. I'm trying to, live my days firing that good old M700, as Call of Duty folks call it, but the good old M40 sniper rifle is what I'm waiting for, right? I'm not going to go over that in this video because I'm getting kind of off topic, but this is pretty cool, right? You got the faithful recreation of the L96 in the game. I'm super pumped for it, and it looks like this is a new scope as well. It doesn't look like the 223, it doesn't look like the Hunter scope, so maybe the L96 will have its own scope. But yeah, you've got all the safety systems in there, you've got the nice trigger, the grip, everything. Completely modular gun, super cool gun. I do love it, but it's not my favorite by any means, right? So on that note, I think that's pretty much everything I have for this video, guys. I love Scum. I love making videos on these games. I'm a huge gamer. And I enjoy doing this. I do it for free. It's a hobby of mine. I like it. I say that a lot in every video if you guys are a fan of mine, and I want to continue doing this in the future. So please tell me what I could do better. Tell me what you would like to see me do when I cover Scum. And I don't just cover Scum. I do other games as well, but I will continue to keep Scum as a staple of the channel, right? So tune into my other stuff. I'm streaming on Twitch now. Not really Scum, just because stream snipers, in my experience on my server, have been a huge issue for me. Getting my base wiped and stuff. It's just a pain in the ass. So I probably won't stream Scum unless it's PvE, right? I'll stream other games like Sea of Thieves, horror games. I have Throwback Thursdays, all kinds of stuff going on. So go ahead and check out my Twitch and stay tuned for my streams, and watch out for my stream schedule video that I already have posted to get more information on that. But anyways, I love all you guys. Thank you for the support. I would love to do this full time one day, but until then, the only thing that is able to let me do this is me dedicating time and money into these efforts, right? So if you want to support the channel, feel free to drop some money in the Patreon. 100% of that goes to me running my server and using equipment and utility bills to make these. I don't really pocket any of it, just because I don't have a following enough to do it. I don't do it enough to really feel comfortable with using that money for anything else, right? But anyways, I love you guys all. Thanks for watching the video. Stay tuned for the next one, and until next time, peace.